You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, we've been talking about the Chiefs and their stadium situation. Now we've got the Bears, and we know that's been going on for quite some time. Would there be renovations on Soldier Field? And there's also been a lot of talk about the Bears leaving Chicago. Arlington Heights got the most publicity because there's a massive piece of land out there. And in fact, I've done videos in the past where we've literally shown the potential sports complex down in that area that they believe would be a massive sports tourism center, and of course attract a lot of business down there. Now, well, after the sales tax vote no that happened in Kansas City, that now has politicians talking about the Chiefs to Kansas, well, you've got politicians now talking about giving the power to the citizens and residents of Chicago in voting for whether or not they want to be involved in providing public funds to teams, Bears and White Sox. Do they even want to do it? And you got politicians wanting to put it up to a vote, the power of the people. Now, it's going to be interesting because it's got to go before City Council, and the worst mayor in all of the United States, Brandon Johnson, they got to approve it in order for it to emerge in November onto a voting ballot near you up there. So, anyway, let's get to this. I've got Chicago 5, and then we've got a little news story on a group in Arlington Heights that are still very much pushing for the Bears to come there. As the Chicago Bears and White Sox look for opportunities to obtain public funds for new stadiums, a high-profile project in Kansas City was rejected by voters on Tuesday. Voters in Jackson County, Missouri, rejected a sales tax that would have helped fund a new downtown ballpark for the Royals and major renovations at Arrowhead Stadium, home of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, that would have been an extension of a sales tax vote. More than 58% of voters rejected the plan. It wasn't even close, which would have replaced an existing 3/8 of a cent sales tax that has been paying for the Truman Sports Complex. The new tax would have been in place for the next 40 years. The Royals had pledged at least $1 billion from ownership for the project and would have used revenues to fund a new $2 billion ballpark district. The Chiefs had committed $300 million. It was $266 million, I think, ultimately, in private funds towards renovations at Arrowhead, and it came out to roughly like $1.1 billion to overhaul the stadium. That defeat comes amid pushes by the White Sox and Bears to obtain public assistance for stadiums. The White Sox are seeking funding from the state of Illinois for a new stadium project in the South Loop, while the Bears are looking into financing options for a new stadium just to the south of Soldier Field on Chicago's lakefront. The plans have been met with some skepticism by public officials at the city and state levels, and some leaders are even pushing ideas to give taxpayers additional input on the decision. I think that's fair. I think everything should be put up to your citizens. They're the ones, in a lot of cases, footing the bills, and they've got to deal with the infrastructure and everything else. Well, one thing we found out lately, especially when it comes to migrants, it hasn't gone the way that Brandon Johnson in Chicago thought it would. Those citizens are pissed up there. Former Illinois Governor Pat Quinn filed an ordinance at city clerk's office in March to ask the city council to put the referendum on the November ballot, allowing voters to decide if tax dollars will go towards stadium construction projects. Quote, what we want to do is give the people of the city a chance to vote on the issue in November. He told reporters, I think the people of Chicago are sports fans, big-time sports fans, but we're also fans of the taxpayer. Absolutely. The referendum would ask taxpayers directly about proposed White Sox and Bears projects. Shall the people of Chicago provide any taxpayer subsidies to the Bears or White Sox in order to build a new stadium or real estate development? Question mark. So that's what they'd be voting on, yay or nay. Are we going to help fund this crap? While both teams are pursuing some measure of public financing for new stadiums, their current homes have not been fully paid off, according to NBC5. That's part of the problem here. They got public funding, and they have not come through on it. Quinn says the projects approved in 1980s and early 2000s should have been subjected to more scrutiny. Quote, the city of Chicago back then didn't have a chance to vote on whether or not remodeling Soldier Field into a spaceship was a good idea, Quinn said. Let the people speak. The people who pay taxes, who are the heart and soul of our city. That makes sense. The Bears recently shifted their focus away from the multi-million-dollar Arlington Heights property to the lakefront downtown. Executives said they would invest $2 billion into the project, but it's unclear where the rest of the funding would come from. The timing of the lakefront announcement came just weeks after White Sox chairman Jerry Reinsdorf, God help us all, met with leaders in Springfield to ask for at least $1 billion for a new stadium. Quinn conducted and paid for his own poll through Blueprint Polling prior to filing the ordinance Wednesday. In the numbers provided, 65% of voters opposed taxpayer subsidies, while 25% supported it. The rest weren't sure. Okay, so that's interesting. It should be noted that Kansas City vote was 58% no, 41% yes. Kind of in the ballpark around what we're talking about here, especially when you talk about the rest were being unsure, and they're obviously going to go one way or the other. The proposal will go in front of city council members and, good Lord, Mayor Brandon Johnson on April 17th. God help everybody. So, and you saw they brought up Arlington Heights. There's a lot of fire about them moving away from that. All right, so there is a business coalition, a pro-Bears one in Arlington Heights, that is trying to make a push for the Bears not to give up on that area. In the shadow of the shuttered racetrack property the NFL franchise now owns, Touchdown Arlington hosted a rally and letter writing party Wednesday night at Jimmy D's Sports Bar to show there's still plenty of support for the Bears to move to the suburbs. Attendees signed their names to pre-written letters that will be sent to members of the 3 Arlington Heights area school boards that have been engaged in a property tax dispute with the NFL club for nearly a year, urging them to accept a village proposal to break the stalemate. That would be interesting. If they could grab public funding there, the Bears might come back around. The group said it gathered more than 1,500 signed letters in support of the proposal presented at the March 8th Village Board meeting for a tax compromise between the Bears and Northwest Suburban High School District 214 and several others. In one of the letters attendees given the choice to sign, it said the short-term village proposal could result in a tax bill of $6.3 million for 2023, $3.6 million for 2024, when the property will be considered a vacant lot for the full year. This plan provides school districts with a significant tax base while also providing the Bears a reasonable path forward to pursue development. And one of the reasons why they bounced out of this is because they found out the taxes out there were going to be a lot higher than they originally forecasted. So the Bears started backing off, right? So Arlington Heights should be the future home of the Bears. And it says, unfortunately, recent reports show the Bears are considering remaining in Chicago. This is a result of an unnecessary stalemate with school boards, and it is incumbent on our school boards to support the village proposal. The Bears signed an agreement to purchase Arlington Park property in September of 2021 under Ted Phillips, We understand that the new CEO, Kevin Warren, wants to explore Chicago first, and that's a 326-acre parcel of property down there. So that's interesting. I think it's only fair for taxpayers to have a say in what it is they're going to help fund and whether or not they even want to be involved. They may be, I've said this before, I know plenty of people that are huge sports fans, and we see this here in Texas with things like, and I'll just use this as an example, we got high school football fields that cost $500 million to build. And there's plenty of parents who are massive fans of high school football, but they didn't want to pay for that. They ultimately had to, but they didn't want to. And they said, look, if there's going to be a sales tax to fund anything, it needs to be towards the educational side of the school, not the athletics. And again, they're big football fans, but they was like, no, I don't want that. Well, you're going to have a lot of people feel that way in a lot of different places. Plus, you're going to have the sentiment of their billion-dollar NFL franchises. Let them pay for it. That's the other thing. I think it's fair for citizens to have a voice and decide whether or not they want to fund any of it. Makes sense to me. I bet a lot of people thought the Chiefs, the people up there were going to just vote yes. They didn't, and it wasn't close. And I think it caught the Chiefs off guard. Tell me what you think. Chicago, are they going to stay in Chicago? They're going to stay at Soldier Field, or are they going to Arlington Heights, or could they go somewhere else we don't even know about right now? It's going to be interesting. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.